So out of all of these natural disaster storms, what is the one that would send you like running the other direction? You're just like, I'd rather deal with anything besides that.
Well, they would all send me running in the other direction.
As they
I
should.
think. As they should.
To me, to be in a lightning storm where there's lightning every 4 feet, it terrifies me. To be in a hailstorm where hail is the size of boulders, So all of these things are horrific for me.
They're all terrible. It's
Yeah,
so
it's a
hard.
crazy
Yeah, there's not a good
question.
one to choose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's like picking a best of a
Yeah.
bad bunch.
No, I actually find some of the, like, to see a tornado, I've actually seen one, but I often imagine I'd love to get quite close to one because I think they're amazing.
I
But
think probably the one that would get me the most is the army of marching tornadoes, because there's just so much power in a single tornado. To think of them in groups, I think I'd want to avoid that one the most.
Yeah, I mean, anything with water where you're just not in your natural environment, I mean, but I guess fire would...
one I would like to be furthest away from are tsunamis. They're freaky because they just wipe. There's nothing left after a tsunami. Everything else, there's a way you could get around it.
It's
but
just like,
yeah.
I know, it's
nightmare. I
all
mean,
the
it's just-
elements.
You're literally
I mean,
just
as
like,
soon as you're at the
Pretty nice.
mercy of something that you can't control, it's pretty scary place to be, I think.
Yeah. I have a fear of, drowning, and that's a really nasty sort of experience to kind of go through, and especially when that
flooding.
water's like sort of concrete, you know what I mean?
when they're looking out the window and they see the giant wave, and you're just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's,
Wild.
and how do you can't outrun it. You can't,
No.
where do you go from there?
Yeah.
They're. There's just nothing.
Devastating.
It's so. That's the word. Devastating. Yeah.
It's worse than we thought.
Yeah, I think we've established that.
Actors normally pull from their own experiences to put into whatever roles they're doing. What do you pull from when you're literally being launched into space to stop the mother of all natural disasters?
That's a very good question. What I pulled from was the first time that I was ever launched into space trying to stop this natural disaster, and I went, oh my God, the similarities here are uncanny.
Life just repeats itself.
Really? It was like,
Crazy.
and therefore it just came to me. So it was fine.
Thank goodness. No wonder you got the part. They were just like, wait, who can actually relate to this?
Dean, I remember when I was younger and we created a science that stretched around the planet, and then it all went wrong and I had to go up because I was the guy that built it.
Well,
This
sure.
is so amazing. And he said, you're the guy.
Are going back up to space
Think of it like I'm taking a vacation.
to a place 250 miles straight up and negative 450 degrees? Somehow.
Went up into the space station to prepare for this role. If you could only bring 3 things with you, what were those 3 things you grabbed?
Look, I hate that I say this, but my phone, just because there's so much, there's even music on
You'll
my
have
phone.
way better connection. You're right by the satellite.
Oh, that's
There you
a
go.
very good point. What else would I want? Probably fresh underwear and.
Smart. Your mom would be so
where did
proud
I
to hear you
go?
say
I
that.
know. And maybe one book.
What book?
I knew you were going to ask
You
that.
got. You're gonna say a book.
Stealing Fire.
Ooh. Okay.
Stealing Fire.
Interesting
It's
choice.
about reaching. Do you know Stealing Fire? It's
I
about,
do know
oh,
Stealing
yeah,
Fire.
okay.
I'm a nerd. I know a lot of books.
Okay.
Interesting choice. I
Yeah.
feel like that's very apropos, actually.
Yeah.
One thing that your characters really kind of not struggle with, but like go back and forth with, is this idea of job responsibility and relationship responsibility. So, like, ultimatum, if you could do what you loved for the rest of your life, but you couldn't be with the person you loved, or you could be with the person you love, but have to miss out on your dream job, what are you choosing?
I reckon I'd make a great stay-at-home wife. I cook, I clean. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
You'd make a great stay-at-home wife
Thank
too.
you. Well,
wouldn't you?
I feel like I would.
Equality, I
I would.
that.
I would of course, I would go with love over your career.
Yeah, I
Of
don't know.
course.
It's
You
like
can
it's
have a
weird-
great career
it's a-
and not fall in love, and then you're not so happy. You know what I mean?
It's not worth anything.
Yeah, I know. It'd be nice to be able to have both. Can we strike a deal?
Apparently you can in the movie. That's what happens, right? And you get to save like most of the world. So that's what totally works out.
Totally.
Yeah, it's good that they have such a responsible job, you know. And it's nice that you sort of see them in the movie and they're so responsible, and they've obviously worked really hard to where they get, but they're willing to put that all at risk for the
But
sake
behind
of their
closed door-
relationship. And they're there's something really like mischievous about their kind of relationship.
Yeah,
It's fun, you know.
totally.
It's
They make
fun,
it
a little bit dangerous, a little bit flirtatious,
Yeah.
but also just like, hey, I'm here to do my job.
Yeah.
But I love you a
Wink,
lot.
wink.
Congratulations on Geostorm. So you've done a lot of work like Independence Day, Geostorm. What draws you into this genre, the sort of like thriller, sci-fi meets action sort of thing?
You know, I'm just a nerd, and there are certain kinds of nerdy movies that I loved growing up, and I always hoped that one day I'd have a chance to make some. But I live in a time where, you know, the bar has been set very high for these kind of movies. So when you do it, you kind of have to put them on steroids. So hopefully this is every movie I ever loved growing up on steroids.
Pretty sure you took every possible apocalypse scenario and you're like, it's okay, we're gonna give you all of them. So what makes Geostorm different than the apocalypse movies that have come out before it?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I mean, one, we've seen natural disasters in movies before. So what we really tried to focus on in this movie was unnatural disasters. In other words, the type of disaster that could happen only if we were to meddle with nature. In other words, under no circumstance could nature do this. But if we start playing with it, if we start messing around with
Playing God.
what could happen? And, you know, yes, you could get a place that has tornadoes, but if you can get 50 of them marching down a street, that's something that only could happen if we started playing God. So those were the kind of images we wanted to go after. But at the heart of the movie is really a political thriller. And it's a whodunit. You know, early in the movie, someone dies, and the big question is who killed him and why.
And did he, like, I honestly was wondering, like, was he doing something wrong? Did someone kill him to, like, get him out of the way? What's happening? It's like, honestly, every turn you're still guessing, which is awesome. Where did you get the idea for Geostorm? You were just, like, watching the news, you're like, it'd be bad if all this happened at once. Wait.
It was actually my daughter. My eldest daughter was 6 years old at the time, and she was just starting to learn about climate change. And she asked in a very naive way, Dad, why can't we just build a machine that fixes this? And I started to try and talk to her about geoengineering and the science of it and why there's a moral problem with it and dilemmas on how to implement it. But then I realized the best way to explain it to my daughter was a bedtime story. And that's really what Geostorm is. It's a fable on what could happen if we wait too long to deal with this.
So what's the biggest message you want people to walk away from Geostorm with?
Well, ideally, it would be, let's not wait for this to happen. Let's not wait for us to have to build something like the Dutch Boy Project. Let's deal with it now before it gets out of hand.
I think there's a really strong message about love on a more intimate scale, whether that is family or relationship. There's also a strong message about unity and coming together and community. There's also a strong message about being in tune with Mother Earth, and it brings up a discussion about man versus nature and what happens when we interfere with nature, and what are the possible results of that. And you know, and so I think those are really strong subject matters that run through the movie.
Definitely, and our sort of impact on the world that we live in, and how long we're going to leave it till it's unmanageable. You know what I mean? Until the effects of it are so dramatic that we can't really turn the clocks back. You know, we are one of the only species, as far as I know, that has a conscience. You know, and so you're able to look into the future and think about the past and reflect on the past. You know, so I hope that people leave the movie with some level of consciousness about the effects of climate change. I guess.
The idea that we need to change things while we hopefully.
Yeah, that it's a very real problem that could create very devastating, you know, impact to all events. You know.
Yeah, to life.
There are, but ultimately, if you were to look for the through line that ties them all together, it's always about kind of getting over our self-interest, whether personally and learning to work together. So it's like two brothers learning to work together, a guy learning to be a father. You know, it's about coming together in whatever aspect that is, or whether it's the governments or scientists themselves. And I feel like that's a kind of inspirational note to watch this movie and say, whatever level it is, it's about us thinking more from a soul level and coming together.
Someone has turned the system into a weapon.
They're trying to change the map of the world.